Hey guys, so a few of you liked my what is good advice video, so I thought I'd follow it up with another video that's extremely related and extremely important whenever you're trying to, find a advisor or a mentor or, pick a role model. And that is knowing when, in order to be successful, like whatever person you're emulating or getting advice from, when is it important to do what they are doing now? And when is it important to do what they did in the past? And I can think of no better example, really, than if you look at the investments of the different wealth percentiles in America. So the biggest difference between the top 1%, the top 1 to 10%, the top 10 to 20%, is that the top 1% allocates about 40% of their investments into private equity. And you might be thinking, oh, well, if I want to be like the top 1%, I will also allocate 40% of my investments into private equity. That must be their secret. That must be how they got so rich. But that's actually not the case for a lot of reasons. But the point of the matter is that in terms of investing, just your classic index, public large cap securities, probably is going to be better for you as an individual than private equity on a risk-adjusted basis, right? I mean, it's kind of boring, but it's the truth. Essentially what happens is once people get to a certain level of wealth, they diversify from what's actually growing them wealth very quickly, but they diversify away from the public market just to get a little bit more of, in their minds, a better risk spread across their portfolio. And so people have very different views on, private equity as a diversification method. The point is that these people have so much wealth. They also have the kind of connections and stuff like that enables them to invest in private equity, whereas a lot of people can't. And so also in business, right? Like, there are some people, right? Like, say there's a super successful CEO and he goes on the news and he says, yeah, I only work 4 hours a day, right? If you're working more than 4 hours a day, you're inefficient. You might think to yourself, okay, well, then I'm only going to work 4 hours a day. That sounds great. I'm just going to work on being efficient for 4 hours a day. The question is, did that CEO build his, super successful company working 4 hours a day? Or was he working like 18 hours a day when he was first getting started? Is it the case that now that he has momentum, he has resources, he's able to farm out tasks to people, he's able to delegate, and also he's been through the whole process of his business, he knows it intimately, and he has a very good strategic understanding of the risks and what he's going to do in that, if any of those risks materialize, right? He has contingency plans, all this stuff, because he's been doing this for like 30 years, right? Trying to assume the practices of somebody who has the benefit of business momentum as well as that level of insight when you're just starting out and you really don't know what you're doing, it's not a good plan. And the news and social media and all sorts of people, they're trying to sell you on, look at this person has such a wacky lifestyle and yet he's super successful. You can do something that's easy and strange and you will also become super wealthy, right? And this is kind of plays into get rich quick schemes as well. When you look at things like, even something as basic as the lottery, right? Like, the vast majority of people who are very wealthy did not win the lottery. And so if you're thinking about it, like, it's like, it doesn't take much effort to scratch a lottery ticket. It doesn't take a lot of investment. It doesn't take a lot of time. And so it's attractive because people sell you on this dream. And sometimes you do need to cope. I understand, lives are hard out there and stuff, but be mindful, right? Like, don't just, going back to what we talked about in my previous video, right? Whenever you're getting advice from someone, realize that they're probably talking to themselves when they were younger, not you necessarily. And so if their challenges and their strengths are different than yours, they might actually give you advice that's bad like very bad, because, you know, let's say that they're strong where you're weak where they're strong. They're going to tell you advice basically to bolster their weakness, which is your strength. You're going to double down. You're still going to be weak, and you might go way down the wrong path, right? That's something that you really need to be thinking about. That's extremely important in every aspect of your life. When you're reading a book, watching the news, whatever the case may be. At the same time, you also need to be thinking very strongly, is this person successful because of what they're doing now? And there's a lot of things you can learn from people who are successful in terms of like best practices for business, you know, how to talk to people when clients, all this stuff. But you always need to keep that in mind as well, that you are different if you're not at that level than the person who is at that level. You have to be mindful of that. And, you know, if you're not, then you're just going to go around being a poser. Also, you're going to be doing things that make no sense for your actual situation and your position, and you're probably going to fail, and you're going to look like a buffoon doing it. So that's just, you know, a little tip there. Take it for what you will. Like and subscribe. I promise eventually I will be making content like I mentioned, you know, very like nitty gritty brass tack stuff. These are just like more philosophical videos. I'm not monetized. I feel like I have the, you know, space to just be authentic and say, oh, you know, I've got 10 minutes break in between work. Let me just rip out a video. It's very fun for me to do this in this way. Eventually, though, I am going to start taking this more seriously. And, you know, I'll see you around when I do.